Welcome back to the pregame show here on the NECBL Broadcast Network. It is time for the Broadcasters Roundtable. Darren Zaslow with you here, joined alongside Newport Gulls field reporter Dave Peck. He is to my left, and to my right, the voice of the Plymouth Pilgrims, Quinn Kelly. Dave, we'll start with you. How about this Newport team coming off a 7-6 win over the Danbury Westerners back on Monday night, a 12-inning victory for Newport. The walk-off RBI single in a pinch hit situation for Dominic Dorenzo. Fair to say that was one of the biggest hits of the season.
Absolutely. You know, you couldn't have said it better than that. And I think just the way they won that game just will prove to be so huge for this team going forward, because there have been situations where they've had that couple of innings where they fell apart after they had such a good lead, and to come out on top after 12 innings. And in the fashion they did it, they got help from everybody. Of course, Cameron Meisner getting that 2-run home run to tie things up at 6, and of course Dom Dorenzo and all the extracurriculars that went in at the end of the game. The two people getting tossed from the Westerners and Kevin Winterhout getting tossed for the Gulls, just firing everybody up. And those are the kind of things that really bring a team closer. And when you have that, it's a powder keg, and then you win the game, and that powder keg gets even bigger, and eventually, you know, things start to roll, and this team is getting to a point where they're very dangerous. So I'm excited to see what they have for the next couple of weeks here in the last part of the NECBL season.
Newport offensively hitting .231. That's been the highest batting average for this team this season. Do you think that stat is pretty indicative of how this offense is progressing?
Yeah, you know, you saw them at the bottom of that statistical category for a long time, and slowly they're climbing up. And, you know, it's still not great, which is a scary thought, because this team has so much talent, and they're still hovering around that 230 mark. So there's plenty of room for improvement offensively for these guys. And, you know, once they start to roll, they're starting to get comfortable with each other. I was talking to Charles King. Since he's been here, they've won 3 games, and he's starting to recognize what kind of team this is and how special it could be. So a lot of positive things moving forward, and we'll see what happens tonight.
Newport now just 3 games out of that third and final playoff spot in the Southern Division. Dave, what does this team need to do not only to keep winning but to get that spot?
Keep playing hard, keep coming to the ballpark, and not making each game bigger than it is. You know, obviously they're getting more and more important, but you want to stay loose, especially in baseball. If you start to tighten up, start to think too much, you put extra pressure on yourself, then that's when things start to go wrong. So this team is at a point where they're playing loose, they're enjoying baseball in Newport, they're enjoying each other's company, and that's what they got to do if they want to finish out this season with a playoff berth.
Newport 10-16, Plymouth Quinn 14-12 entering play tonight after a crazy win last night over the Danbury Westerners, 8-7. It was all tied up at 7 going into the top half of the ninth. 2 outs. Andrew McNeil, the Stetson product, crosses the plate on a wild pitch. What did you see in that game, and how big of a win was that for this Plymouth team?
Well, it was a game where Pilgrims really led most of the way. They got out early, went up 1-0. Danbury came right back. Went up 4-1. Danbury tacked on a couple. Went up 7-3, and then eventually just a big 4-run inning let them back in. But finally, the Pilgrims came on top, solidified it, and they had a really great performance out of the back end of the bullpen from Christian Rosati. He's been a rock in the bullpen all season. He's got about a 1.2 ERA, and he was stellar again, getting the 6-out save and win last night. So that was huge for them. It was a big win. Give them a cushion over 500. They've been going back and forth on that 500 mark for the past couple weeks, and to really secure that second place spot for, you know, the time being, of course, but to get about a game and a half lead there, it was big for them.
Offensively, this Plymouth team has struggled this year. There is not a single Pilgrim on this roster hitting over 300. They're led by Brandon Perez, the Southern California product, leads the team with 25 hits. He's batting .284. Quinn, fair to say he's been one of the major offensive catalysts thus far?
Yeah, absolutely, offensively and defensively. I mean, he leads in every category. 6 home runs, 17 RBIs for him. He's been fantastic. And really, it's just been a case of a lot of guys coming out really slow out of the gate, but everybody's kind of picking it up, and they've seen the batting average really climb as a team over the past couple of weeks. You know, they were sitting right around that Mendoza line as a team at 200, now up in the 230s. It's starting to come together for them in the same way that it's coming together down here for Newport.
You're probably wondering, well, how does this Plymouth team have 14 wins thus far? Well, it's been the defense. The Pilgrims have a .973 fielding percentage. That is the best in the NECBL. Plymouth has only committed 24 errors. Quinn, can you kind of dissect that a little more, and what types of plays has this team been making?
Well, it starts up the middle. You talked about Brandon Perez and why I said he's offensively and defensively. Him and Pat Dorian up the middle are one of the best combinations in the entire league. We've got an outfield between guys like Connor Brumfield and Chase Cheek and Andrew McNeil that can cover as much ground as any combination in this league. Defensively, it's just a really solid team. You know, it's a lot of guys. This is a team that was built to be a defensive powerhouse and to have, you know, some of the power bats, and it's kind of worked out that way where they just don't commit too many errors. And that's not to say that they haven't had games, you know, kind of get away from them because the defense hasn't been there, but certainly no more than anybody else. And they've been able to ride the back of some good defense and some really hot pitching.
It's Newport and Plymouth here on People's Credit Union Fanatic about reading night. First pitch is set for 6:35 p.m. For Dave Peck and Quinn Kelly, I'm Darren Zaslow. Don't go anywhere. The Newport Gulls pregame show continues next right here on the NECBL Broadcast Network.